Hello, my name is Ralph and welcome back to the channel. It's my time, let's go. Today we're going to do some more work on the Pitch Black Evo motor, and we're getting things up now. We're getting loose ends tied up, so to speak. One thing before I move along, I did buy a new shim for my cam cover, so I'm going to take a moment and check my cam spacing in there with the new 75 thou shim in here for the end of the camshaft. So we replaced it because I had quite a bit of clearance there, so I was going to try to get a little less clearance there. So we're going to take a few minutes. I'm just going to put that in there and we're going to check some spacing, and then we can move on from there. I've taken the carburetor off just because it's easier to get at the push rods and everything there, and we've already set our heights and everything for our manifolds, so we're all good there. Alright, let's go. So we're just going to kind of get our cam cover ready to go, get our gasket on there. But remember to put our small spacer plate in the back. That goes on before the washer. And then we'll slide our gear in. We don't need to time it right now. We'll get that in place. We've lubed these ends up a little bit, so make it a little bit easier. We're just going to go around and torque those to about 95 pounds because that's where they would be at. There we go. Everything's torqued down. Now we need to look inside and see what kind of clearance I got, but I can tell by feeling it, it's a little closer to what I want it to get. Stick our little timing screw in the end of this. That'll enable me to pull the cam back and forth in here. And I can't get that 11 in there. So what I'm sort of shooting for is like 10 thou. I like to have 10 thou clearance in there. 10 thou. So this is what we're shooting for down in between the shim and the backing plate. You can see I'm trying to move the camshaft, but I can't. If I take that out, check it again, 10 thou. That's just exactly what we're looking for. Slight bit of pressure, I can't pull it out. So that's it. Yeah, so we're gonna work away at it. What we've done is we've lined our motor marks up here, and I'm gonna take the breather gear out at this time because it's a lot easier to put back in there after we have the cam in place. So we have to make sure that we've got our cam plate in the back, and we want to make sure that we have our little washer in place here. And the other end too. And our camshaft has two dots on it, one here and one here. And this one is going to be down here for the pinion gear down here. And this one here is going to be for the breather gear. So there's one mark on our pinion gear here. And we're off by one tooth. So we'll just bring it around. Make sure that our rear plate is in place there, not jammed. And this one is right there on the mark, right exactly what we're looking for. We'll lube up our breather gear. And our breather gear has a small mark on it right there. I don't know if you can make it out or not. It's under the washer, but we can see it. So we're going to line that up. And we'll make sure that that's lined up with that. So now we've got them all in place. That's what we're looking for. Okay, now we got to put our seal and our cam cover in here. Like I said, I always leave that to last when I'm adjusting my cam and everything because it makes everything work a lot easier and you're not taking the seal on and off and on and off. So it is supported here. Carefully. Make sure you're centered up there. And I like to put just a very thin film of green Loctite seal retainer. Don't need a lot. Wipe the excess off and don't get it on the rubber inside. Now to install it, I've got this thing out of a fuel line kit. I find it fits just perfect in the seal. Just like that. And I want to get it in there square. So I do have a seal driver, but I didn't have anything that size. And this just kind of taps on the inside of the plastic. So I just turned out a washer, a little bit bigger like that. And that should give us something nice to tap it in with, evenly. Before we go too far, we'll just have a quick peek. And that's just what we want. Got it sunk in there, but not too far. If you go in too far with it, then your lips can start hitting the brass, although that's a long ways in there. But this drives it in just nice. Just sets it in there. No muss, no fuss. All right. Now we can head back over to the bike and over to the motor and get this put back on. So we can get our gasket ready to go on. Now sometimes I have put the lifters in here. They're a little easier to handle. You can do either way, whichever is more comfortable for you. Today we're going to do it this way. So we've got our tappets in the blocks. The oil holes on these tappets are unidirectional. They're cut out in there and they don't really matter on these. On the twin cams, I believe they are directional and have to be in right, but these don't matter. So the biggest thing is to get your gasket in place properly. Now we've had our lifters soaking, so we're going to get them and put them in the block. And we'll show you how to put them in this way. It might make it a little bit easier. We have our tappet blocks in place, making sure that the small holes are lined up where they're supposed to be. And if all goes your way, then often by having the cam cover off, you can help direct the tappets in onto the camshaft, because they do want to naturally fall out right out of the blocks, and we don't really want that to happen. We do have these very small little tappet block screw. These are for alignment, to help you line the tappet block up. We put those in, and that way we know that our oil holes and such are all lining up in place. We will sort of attempt to do the same with this one. There we go. And we have another little alignment block tool there. These will kind of wiggle the blocks into place. You don't need to crank it way down tight or you'll split the blocks out. It's just enough to set up the alignment. As soon as we get these all torqued down, then we can start putting the push rods in. Now normally, with normal push rods, you have to be adjusting the tops down and down and down and bleeding out the lifters. In our case, we have a set of fully adjustable S&S lifters put in it. Or not lifters, but push rods. So we don't need to take the tops off. We can just do them here individually one at a time. Check our timing marks again. Everything's in place where it should be. So now we'll get back to putting the cam cover on. I'm going to try to lube all these gear surfaces and cam surfaces. We'll be pouring a bunch of oil down through it as well. Got to get a set. I thought I had a set. cam cover screws, but it appears that I don't. So I'll probably order a set to put on this, just to pretty it up. So we'll tighten them up. This is your typical weight set. It has a base plate with a tab in it that locks onto your cam, and then these springs operate as a mechanism to come out to advance and retard your timing. What we are going to do before we put these on is we're going to put a little bit of dielectric grease on the springs, the pivot points, and our shaft. Alright, in order to make the weight set function, we have this small unit, and this is sort of your magnetic set of points, so to speak, and it has a flat spot on one side and not a flat spot on the other, and there's a small pin down in there, and this flat spot has to go down beside the pin. One way it won't go down, and the other way it will go in and slide in there, and then it should turn freely to activate the weight mechanism. Also on the back side of this unit is a small little metal piece sticking out there, very tiny, but it is sticking out there. And that fits in to the end of the camshaft. As you can see, there's a cutout in here on the camshaft. So we're going to stick it on the end of our camshaft here with our little tab sticking up. You have to make sure that it sits in the cam good into the end of the camshaft. It's a nice fit. There we go. It should snap right into place. Put that in. It's a very small bolt, as you've seen, and this is a 9/16 head on it. Just to make it, I don't know why, but to make it easy to get at, I guess. You have to be very careful when you torque it on. You just have to snug it up. And then make sure that the mechanism is working. Take our plate, take our wires down through. Plate has a small groove in it here, and there's little cutouts in the wall here, and that enables you to put a screwdriver in and move this one side or another depending on where you might need to have it. We'll turn this around so that we can easily get at the screws. We'll just start off by setting it in the middle. Now we'll just lightly sort of snug these up. I'm just going to put the point cover on it for the time being, until it comes time to time it. So we won't be putting a gasket or anything in there right now. Just want to keep the dirt and such out. Although I don't plan on there being much dirt. I get myself a little gasket, of course, before the engine is put into use, but I will have this cover off to do the timing and such as we get it running on the motor stand. So we're just going to cover it up there, and besides that, I like to have a look at it. We're going to try and get all our little pieces together. That's one thing. All the time you just got to stop in the middle because you don't have something ready. So it's worth taking the time to try and get it ready, although you still inevitably always stop in the middle to get something ready. It never seems to fail. But we'll get our pushrod tubes ready here. Be one less thing to deal with as we're going. So today we got a set of S&S Quickie pushrods that we're going to put in here. They're excellent push rods. They save you from taking the top off. I use them a lot in the twin cam stuff, but why not put them in here? I have them, and they won't hurt any, that's for sure. They're not a real performance upgrade either, but the durability is there, and a high quality piece that I can put in there and give everything a break altogether. So let's get on with installing these push rods. So we're going to get our inner push rod tube ready. We'll start with our centerpiece and our spring, small flat washer, and the O-ring. Slide that in the lower part of the push rod, and that's how it goes in. Make sure that our top O-ring is in the top, up top. I like to put a little bit of lube on the top of this to lube up those O-rings so they go in there a little bit easier when you're working with it. So you have to remember we're putting these lifter blocks together, there's a little tiny little shim, and that goes in underneath your O-ring, and that's right here. So we put the little shim in first, and then we put the O-ring in. That's how it's supposed to go together. So now we'll take our pieces that we've got prepared and oiled. Stick that in. There we go. Get our little nut up there on it. Now that we're fairly close, I'm just going to turn the motor over. Make sure that I'm on the lowest point. Watch for the opposite lifter here to rise up. There we go. We're sitting pretty well at top dead center. The opposite one is up as high as it will go. Just let you know that this one is down below. We'll just put something in here to tie up the push rod covers out of the way. Okay, just gonna put a mark on there. You can tell where we're going. And we've got it lightly seated here to where we think, you know, that's about taking up any of the slack in there. Yeah. So, there, one. Two. Three. 30, 60, 90. Go 3.5. For now, it leaves me a half leeway. Right there. Loose. Just let those sit for 15 or 20 minutes. However long it takes for it to bleed down. See, I can't turn it right now, so we have to get it so that it spins nice and freely. And then we'll take it from there, and we'll just keep crisscrossing them back and forth until we get them all in there. Well, I had to take a little break yesterday before I got finished doing these pushrod things, but we're back at it today. Had to go get a little bit of a haircut, a little bit of a trim, and it's a little chillier here today. The temperatures have dropped, so we've got a sweater on, but we're going to get this Evo motor completed up here today, I hope. We're very close to it. So we were at the pushrods, so we're going to continue to work away at the pushrods. and get her set up. All right, we've got our front one here, so it turns nice and smoothly, and it's set overnight. And so what we got to do now is go work on our inner rear one. First, we want to remember to put our small little shim piece in there. Have to lube up the O-ring a little bit. Makes it more pliable. And our O-ring. And some lube up top on the O-ring. Okay, now we're going to turn our engine over so that this push rod will go up. What we're looking for is to get this one here at the lowest spot. So there's ours going up. We know then that this one is at its lowest point, and this one is at its highest point. Okay, a little bit of lube. Okay, and we need a push rod tube. Have all put together here now. We've slackened off our push rod. And we're just going to get that up into place and see if we can get the thread started. As soon as you've got the thread out far enough, it's a good time to start your little nut on that's hanging down below. Otherwise, it will continue to fall down in the hole and you'll find it hard to get out of there. This little nut makes it kind of hard in here. And when this is collapsed all the way so that it goes up inside, this comes out this far. And the ball, there's no threads for the ball. And this actually has to move quite some distance, as you can see, before we start to get some threads. When you get some threads, take this little nut, start it on those threads. That way when you're down in the bottom of the hole, your nut won't be way down inside the lifter. It'll be up here where it should be. We're just going to snug these down until it's snug on top of the lifter. Keep moving your little nut up as you go. I can feel that I'm snugged up here. Just making contact there. You just want it to where it just touches and I can just spin it. There we go. So, snug that up again. Alrighty. Okay, I'm just going to rock that to make sure that I'm up. You can roll it over until your rear cylinder comes up, top dead center and compression stroke, and then set it there if you like. This works pretty efficiently, but we'll do it both ways. Now this sort of system of raising the front one up and doing the opposite one, it works well, and it really does. If you want to be sure, and you want to be positive that you're on the compression stroke, what you can do is turn your motor over, which we're probably not right at the top there. And we know we're on compression stroke. There we are, top dead center. Either way, our push rod remains the same. We're just going to put a mark there. And then we're going to rotate it 3.5 full turns. Three and a half. I like to go 3.5 on it. The instructions say 4. Each complete turn is 31 thousandths of an inch, so 30, 60, 90. And another half a turn, which is like 15, is 100, 105. And your lifter have it's 200 thou to play in them, right? So we just want to set it down in that 100 thou range. And if I do find it's a little bit ticky or anything, I can also go back and readjust it and reset it again. But better to be a little bit loose and a little bit ticky on the first side if need be. Sometimes you need a thinner one up top, just because of the size of the nut and the flats. No, we're good there. We're good. Now we're just going to wait for that to sit, and we'll go along and do the next one. So I'm going to work on this one here now, on the front one. So I'm going to see this come up, but we'll go by the compression ranges. It'll work the same, but just to try a little different method. So I'll just put my finger over the hole. I got compression coming up. Okay, and we're right up top dead center there. Mark on there. Now, just to be curious, I'm going to start out with something I've done before, and we've got it lightly seated here to where we think, you know, that's about taking up any of the slack in there. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to try and keep this nut in place as I make my turns. It's hard with the first one. Once I get the first one out of the way, now I feel it tapering up. I'm guessing at 3.5 turns there, I should be about 100 thousandths of an inch. So I'm going to get my feeler gauges and just check that out. So I've taken some feeler gauges here and stacked them up. You can see what we're getting here, 99.5 to 1, right in that range. So pretty close to 100 thousandths of an inch. Now if we're correct, I should be able to go in here between these two without moving them. And I can slide that in there just a little better than that. Just going in there. 100 thousandths of an inch, pretty damn close. So that's about where I want to be. Like I say, according to the calculations, gives you about 100 there, so we're going to lock it down. And by doing it that way, I know I've moved the push rod that far. So if I was correct at the top with the initial part, which is very, very hard sometimes when they're dry, that first turn, first half a turn, it's always hard to tell. Lock these three. And we're locked up. Now we just gotta wait for that to bleed down and do the other one. Bim bam boom. Just like that. Magic. So we get some pieces back in here. Last one left to go. Our little steel piece. Make sure our top one is lubed up good. Lube on everything. we go. Well, that kind of shows you a couple ways to check it. You can go either way. You can check it going to top dead center in there, or you can go by the opposite lifter. One's high, the other's low. I've done it that way for years, but I just wanted to show and experiment and show two different ways that a person can look at it when they want to do it. We're getting closer all the time. I'm going to try and get the carburetor on it today and tidy up some things. And then maybe tomorrow or sometime next week I'll get a chance to run some oil through it and fire the thing up. See how she goes. Okay, stay tuned. If you enjoy this channel, be sure to like, subscribe, ring the bell. Do those things. They all help our channel to grow. Don't be shy. Leave us some comments. We always like to hear from people out there, and the bigger we grow, the more comments we get, and the more fun it is to be able to talk to people around the world and exchange ideas on what they're thinking. So do take the time to comment. Okay, until next week, have a good time. It's my time. Let's go.